It's very abstract sleep because you're not there. You know, you are sleeping. You're not present. That's why you feel you can't really control it because you're not present. You know. Thanks for joining me for the conversation about sleep. We've all been trying to improve our sleep and been kind of devoting to the research in the last couple of weeks. So I'm curious to hear your observations you made during your research. I hope we find some meaningful key points that we can take on our journey of creating better sleep. So my first question is basically, how much of a priority is sleep to you and why?
Yeah, in the last 2 months, I've been working on my sleep quite a bit. And it's getting higher on the priority list, definitely. It used to be not as high as it is now. And I've started to notice some differences, at least I think, that are working right now. But I do shift work, so that's a bit skewed. I have to readjust my sleep schedule every week because it's not possible to keep it the same all the time. So that's been the hardest part, to be honest.
I'm basically 27 now, just turned 27, so in the last 3 or 4 years I've been thinking a lot about sleep and prioritizing it more and more besides physical activity and my food nutrition consumption. They all mix in with how much I prioritize them, and it all depends on the deficits I show in my behavior or in the stuff I do. If I'm missing something, it's usually one of those three. Sleep was like a whole journey where I discovered I had a lot of fragmented sleep in my youth, so I'm trying to get a full night's sleep, and it's hard because I get it 3 out of 7 nights a week, so I'm still working a lot on that.
I'm trying to kind of just improve my basic functions as a human being. That means physiological functions as well as mental functions. And I think I've been really slacking on the physiological ones. So I think sleep is kind of the most important, for me at least, is the thing I can have the most impact on, and it has a very big impact on me as well.
How much of an impact? How does it show in your daily life that you're sleep deprived?
My biggest problem regarding sleep is that I wake up very late. I noticed a big difference if I wake up from 7 to 9 a.m. or if I wake up later than that, basically until 12 a.m. In a sense that if I wake up from 7 to 9, I am full of energy. I feel ready to solve problems and to just have solutions. I have ideas, solutions floating around in my head. But if I wake up later, I kind of just wake up. There is nothing. There is no special emotion or something going on in my mind.
And that's both getting 8 hours of sleep.
Yes.
Going 2 hours later
Yes.
to sleep at night,
Yes.
and then waking up at 10.
Yeah,
And the other is going
both
early.
the same amount of sleep. Yeah. This is the biggest kind of thing that I noticed. That the time I wake up has a big impact on my day. I've never had a constant rhythm. I used to have a very fragmented sleep, just
I remember.
most people. I slept through the day, I was awake at night, or I slept through the night and I was awake at the day. It was very random, basically. So now I've started to make it less random, to just wake up in the morning at least.
I've noticed this as well, that even if I go a bit late than usual, it's better to get up around the same time, even if you get less amount of sleep at that. It doesn't, it's just to keep it consistent, your waking up time, because the body gets used to it. And that's why morning light is a trigger for this.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest improvement I can make, just to wake up every day at the same time. And yeah, I've been trying to force this kind of with the light exposure to when I wake up, I go outside and look at the sun safely. I don't burn my eyes. I definitely noticed this. The light has impact on my sleep pattern or just cycle. In the sense that if I look at my screen late in the night, midnight or 2 a.m., I will need an hour and a half more to fall asleep. Otherwise, if I don't have any light exposure, I am able to fall asleep in half an hour probably.
definitely phones too, not just computer screens.
Yeah.
That's a big problem. The blue light or whatever, the white light.
The biggest difference it does to me is how much time I need to sleep. I mean, before I was using red light on my screen, I just didn't get sleepy. And I went to bed at the same time around, but I needed like 30 minutes more to fall asleep, which is it's not that much, but I mean, I am as well 29 years old, so it shouldn't be a problem for me, in theory. And after I started using it, I get sleepy while I still watch, I don't know, a documentary or something, which never happened before. That's the biggest difference for me.
If we actually go into our research, and we listened to a few podcasts from Matthew Walker. I listened to some Huberman Lab. I also read your study that you sent me. We did some research, and
we encourage everyone to watch it. Yeah, the Matthew Walker podcast is
a good point he made is when they look at people's brains and how the neurons are firing. When you're in REM sleep, for example, they said that they can't tell a difference if you're awake or if you're sleeping.
Yeah.
That was
paradoxical.
Yeah. And his theory he says that we actually evolved with sleep first. We were asleep and then we woke up to life, and that actually seems quite logical to me. Yeah, if you think about where we are from, and we're just cells basically. So that's how we started.
When I started looking at the idea of wakefulness, like a period of wakefulness, you can trigger that. It has some conditions, you know. That's what made my kind of brain change in a way. Okay, I can control my sleep in some way if I can control my wakefulness. Because when I'm asleep, I can't control that, but I can control when I'm awake, you know.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, your brain tells you when it's time to excite and wake up. It's not your decision. It's like it tells you when to do it.
Yeah, but that's the problem of modern day living. You got lights everywhere. You can turn on your light at midnight. It doesn't matter. When our bodies are not used to this yet. Our brain didn't adapt over the years. That's the problem. We are still used to the circadian rhythm, to the sun going up and down.
I think this is the whole point of cognitive behavioral therapy, that you can influence that part of the brain with your behavior on when it functions.
Over time.
Yeah, absolutely over time, and I think over a long time.
So how would you use cognitive therapy to improve your sleep or just change?
Basically, what I'm doing and you're doing as well. Basically, the biggest impact is light, honestly. Just making myself get light in the day and not get light in the night, in the evenings. That has been the biggest impact on my sleep patterns. Absolutely, I have noticed that if I have light in my eyes in the evening or in the night, I will not be able to fall asleep as quickly as I could. The filters definitely help. The red filter helps on the phone, absolutely. For sure. Orange filter is also okay. When I do this constantly, when I wake up every day at the same time and look in the first like half an hour into the sun for like 5-10 minutes, then I get a lot of light into my eyes. The next day I will wake up at the same time before my alarm. I will basically not need an alarm. So I think that is the biggest.
Just a good practice is to go out for a walk for 10 minutes in the morning.
Or
that's how you can get enough sun. Even if it's cloudy outside, doesn't matter.
Yeah. How long do you think you will need to improve your sleep in certain category? So whichever aspect of the sleep you choose to improve at the moment, how long will it take to improve that?
To like perfect it?
Nothing is ever perfect. You can always improve it.
Yeah, but just you can never get the same night of sleep night after night. It's always different. You get the different life comes in between, and you just have to cut on some hours of sleep or just wake up earlier. I think sleep deprivation is like inevitable if you don't actively improve on it.
If you think about it, what's the worst time you want to be thinking about stressful things about your life? It's probably right before you want to sleep, because you're causing negative, maybe not even negative. It's just you're active. You're actively thinking about something, so you can't actually like relax and start the process.
Yeah.
So what do you do to meditate before sleep?
You can try different things. At first, it was just sitting down, relaxing, and trying to think about nothing.
Like breathing exercises.
Breathing exercises. That I think that's the best entrance point to this, and then you can try different stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Do you know any people that say they get enough sleep benefits from 6 hours or even less sleep?
I think everyone does this because we don't really realize it. I've definitely done that in the past. Like I said, I have very fragmented sleep and very unusual sleep cycles. And And I said, yeah, it's fine. I feel completely fine. But now that I look at it, it was not that fine as I thought it was.
Yeah, when you do the research.
Yeah, I feel much better now that I've tried to improve my sleep, that I have like a semi-consistent sleep cycle.
Yeah, I used to be like that as well. Of course, everyone is, I think, before you educate yourself about this. It's quite obvious to me now. But when I used to have a really bad sleep cycle. I went to sleep at like 5 a.m. and slept like 1 p.m. It's literally, I was doing shift work even then, if you think about it. And I always remember just feeling groggy for the first 3 hours. When I woke up, I had to drink a lot more coffee than I do now. It's really quite different. And a lot of people have the opinion that 6 hours of sleep or even less is enough for them, but it's really they're quite wrong. They need to try to manage their sleep for like 14 days or maybe a month, and then they will notice the difference.
I would say at least a month.
Yeah,
you should do at least a month.
Yeah, it's hard to get used to get more sleep in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, or just to regulate sleep, because it's
trying to be mindful of it, because before you're not even mindful of it.
Yeah, it's very abstract sleep because you're not there. You are sleeping, you're not present. That's why you feel you can't really control it, because you're not present. I think my biggest obstacle with thinking about sleep and just thinking about these things is that they are intangible. Sleep is intangible. It's something that happens every night, and I don't know if it happens. They are telling me all my life, hey, you sleep every day. But am I? I'm just gone for those 8 hours or however long, so it's kind of abstract to improve something that you can't see and don't know how to influence,
Wakefully.
Yeah. So having these kind of just small steps and just realizations of how sleep works helps a lot in the process of improving your life.
Yeah.
So now that you guys know kind of the consequences of sleep deprivation, because like Matthew said, oxygen then sleep. That's how important sleep is. Basically, just oxygen beats sleep. And how do you feel when you kind of intentionally sleep deprive yourself or just break your sleep cycles? And do you do it less?
Anything.
Do you do it less, or do you still deprive yourself in the same amount as you did before?
A lot less. I used to play a lot of games, so I used to be awake for 32 hours, sometimes even more. It was like, I will sleep when I'm dead, was the mentality basically. But now it's a lot different, I try to get consistent. Of course, you can't always, because social life and, as I said, shift work. But it's a lot more consistent than it used to be. So maybe now I'll go out of rhythm for maybe like 3 times a month.
Oh, nice.
Before that was basically every second day or something like that. Depending on the other factors, but something like that.
Yeah.
So it's gotten a lot better.
I also had the same mentality. There were like 36-hour game sessions when I didn't sleep, and I thought, it's fine. I can sleep later. I can catch up on sleep whenever I want. I basically at one point I thought, my cycle is just longer. My wakefulness cycle is just longer than 16 hours. I thought, okay, I will be awake for 20 hours and then get 8 hours of sleep. Did not work. Did not work. I think it's much better when you realize, the sleep cycle is 24 hours. You need to kind of just manage that and figure out how you will get the same amount of sleep every day at the same time. That is, I think, the most important thing.
But an interesting thing I did notice in that time, when I was in these periods of 32 hours of no sleep, is the second wind you get. When it's like 6 a.m. when the sun starts coming up, it's like, you're awake, it's fine, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how powerful your body is in this.
I did feel like towards the end of my bad sleep patterns, I felt that it was too much. That basically 36 hours of non-stop playing games or working or whatever you want to do is too much. You feel it on your body. I actually felt like completely shutting down, and I was, I can push a little bit longer, and it was insane.
And how was your focus in the game that you were playing?
Dropping, definitely dropping, absolutely dropping.
Especially
but
during the years.
Which is the dopamine is still hitting you, so you just want to do it.
Exactly. Well, how bad do you feel when you sleep deprive yourself, and how much do you do it?
I guess you could say in the past 2 weeks it was like sort of an experiment, because I had a lot less time, because it was always something new at work. It was kind of busy. I've been having some extra extra out of work activities that I've been doing, plus some physical activity that I've been trying to do regularly, also besides sleep. So the research on this topic was kind of taking into the 8 of hours. It was pinching in, so I got like 7 or 6.5 hours some nights, and the more I thought about getting to sleep earlier, the more I couldn't sleep, and in the mornings I just thought, why am I doing this to myself? I should be planning my time even better or something, but sometimes life gets in the way, so you just can't.
But I think it's more about working for the future. So I mean, I know that in 10-15 years it's going to be hard to fall asleep, and I don't have the technique. It's going to be a lot worse. That's my main driving force for this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I do a lot of like preventative thinking. I think, what can I do now that will improve my life later?
Yeah.
And honestly, these are small changes. You know, it's
easy to start younger, but of course you can start doing this at any
time. It's better
point in your life.
Plus, if you get enough sleep, you are more motivated and focused on getting enough movement done.
Yeah.
And also eating better.
What will you use from our conversation in improving your sleep going forward?
Just take it easier.
In what sense?
Doing the research or the work you have to do, just don't do it in the parts of the sleep. You have the time over the day. You have 16 hours of wakefulness. You have the time to do all the stuff, but just do it differently. Don't cut it into.
Or don't do everything you meant. Yeah, don't do everything you planned. There, it's okay to do it tomorrow. You know.
Yep. Also that.
So yeah, take it easy. That's a really good point. I completely agree. Yeah. What is your kind of takeaway? What will you use from this conversation going forward?
Probably keep going at it, to be honest. Try to really solve this problem of shift work that I have in a way that could be applied to me normally, so I could really shift that clock.
Give it more attention.
Yeah, more attention basically.
I agree. That is the same thing I need to do. I need to give my sleep cycle more attention. I need to follow the things I say more diligently. I think I sometimes don't do it just because it's easier to not do it.
We just need to remember that even if we do the wrong thing for one day at a time, I mean, if you wake up tomorrow for 2 hours later than your normal sleep cycle, it's not the end of the world. It takes a few days for you to get it right, and then it takes a few days to go wrong again. So it's not like if you miss one day, it's not going to be the end.
Yeah, thanks for the conversation, guys.
Good talk.
I appreciate your research and questions and everything. Until next time. Hey, thank you for watching Human Experience, a conversation with people who share first-person observations and experiences. We hope to show you how we navigate the abundance of information we have and filter into conversations into key points we can use to improve our lives. I would love for you to join the conversation in any of the links in the description, and I hope to see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Cut.